Warren, what qualities has Thomas Williams shown to earn himself a starting place?
He's fit for a start. That's probably the biggest thing about him. Gareth didn't train all the first week, so the call was made on fitness as much as anything, and it's a great opportunity for him to for his first Six Nations game.
What sort of style, what sort of attributes will he bring to the team then?
Look, he's not the biggest man in the world, but he's competitive. We feel he's a player of the future. There's still things to work on in his game. He knows that from a defensive point of view, but he's got some lovely little touches and a little bit of X factor about him as well. So, look, it's a position we've got some real strength and depth at the moment in terms of Gareth and the things that he can do, and Ella Davies was great in the summer out against, particularly the second test against Argentina. So a lot of competition, but we're still looking for some improvement in that position as well.
Elsewhere, just the two changes related to injury in the pack. Josh Navidi obviously had a great 2018. Did Aaron Wainwright run him close for a starting place? Yeah,
I mean, I think that's, sometimes players play their way into form and deserve to be reselected. Definitely Josh, it's probably a reward for the way that he played, and he picked up the injury, so he gets a chance to prove himself again. And then that's not just the only position. I mean, I've got to feel for Dylan Lewis. He's kind of been involved in the last 7 games, hasn't been involved in a losing Welsh team, and he's not in the 23. So sometimes you make those tough calls. You're giving other players an opportunity. Samson Lee comes back into the 23 for the first time for a while. He's got a big job to prove himself when he gets an opportunity on there, because you feel really sorry for Dylan in terms of being left out of the squad, and hopefully he will get a chance in that second match against Italy.
Were there any other particular close calls in the starting team?
A good debate in second row, and because Adam Baird had a knock and had come back to fitness. We wanted to get Ross Moriarty on the field, so look, a lot of the players had come into that squad in that first day carrying little knocks and bruises and hadn't done a lot of training in the first week, and so the debate was picking players that had been involved in training versus the risk of how many players were in the starting 15 or the 23 who hadn't sort of had a lot of rugby over the last few weeks or hadn't trained much, and so there was quite a debate around second row, back row, with Ross Moriarty, the 9 situation, 10 as well. So it was, and the back 3 too. So look, there's always healthy debate, but I spoke to the squad about how difficult it is to select the squad and how hard it was, but it's a nice position for us to be in, because we do have so much competition at the moment, guys that are really knocking on the door and making it difficult for us to pick a team. So that's a healthy position for us.
You spoke of taking 31 to France and then onwards to Italy. Have you got 31 fit players for the plane? Yeah,
we have. Yeah. So we've got there's 3 players at the moment that we didn't consider, 3 or 4 players for this game, but everyone that we're taking will be definitely fit. And
the reaction to the French side, 7 changes from their defeat against Fiji, and Tamak in the centre instead of Bastero, which is a change in style maybe?
Yeah, well, I think that a lot's been made, and there's a bit of pressure on them in terms of they've only won 1 of their last 7 games, but 3 of those games were against New Zealand in the summer. Their last game in the Six Nations was a win against England. They should have beaten Ireland in that first game as well. So, they're going to be a tough proposition, and it looks to me like they've got a big bruising forward pack and have picked a back line with flair and talent and footwork. Not the biggest back line in the world, but we're trying to play off the front foot and using their big forwards to get them on the front foot, and then use the pace and skill of the backs with Fafana and Intermac, and Lopez got a good kicking game, and Para's back in there. It's going to be a tough ask for us, but we've trained well in the last couple of weeks, particularly this week. Players are mentally focused. There's a challenge to go out there this afternoon. The weather conditions might play a part in being able to there's been a lot of snow in Paris, and then just having to, the terms of playing a Six Nations game at 9 o'clock in the evening as well is a challenge. So, but the guys have been fantastic, prepared well, and we're excited about it.
What measures do you take with the late kick-off in terms of keeping the players occupied and getting ready? Tomorrow will be a little bit different in that we normally have our captain's runs in the morning and give the players an afternoon off, but with us travelling today, the players will have a later breakfast and a lie-in, and we'll do our captain's run in the stadium tomorrow in the afternoon. So just to try and put the hours back a little bit compared to what they would normally do.
What, were you surprised Bastra wasn't included in the French side?
We'd expected them to be included. They've decided to go with a different attacking option. So he's been a big part of their squad. Probably what surprised me as much as anything was that he wasn't in the 23. So I thought if he wasn't in the starting 15, that maybe he would have been on the bench as an impact player in the last 20 minutes or so. But they've got other players who can come from the wing into midfield. So look, it's like everything. It's hard to stop leaks these days, and so we looked at the French team. What we thought it might be a couple of days ago, so they were talking about Bastra being left out. So we'd sort of prepared for that scenario.
Without him, do you feel, with the less experienced midfield, that scenario you can exploit?
Oh, that's where everyone goes, down that 9-10 channel. I mean, they haven't got the biggest 9 and 10 in the world, but neither have we. So, I expect they'll come pretty direct in that channel. We'll probably look at the same, and young 19-year-old in the midfield as well. So, if playing in a big game, the game at the moment is about trying to get some front foot ball and getting across the game line, and we'll probably use that a little bit, whether we use our wingers or our midfield. They'll probably use that more with their big forward pack and stuff. So it's going to be exciting challenge. Like I said, I think they've come under a bit of pressure and they've gone out there, picked a side that be big and physical up front, and they want to move the ball and play some rugby when they get that opportunity out wide.
What would constitute success for Wales in this Six Nations for you? I've been pretty open about, I think we've got a good chance of winning the Six Nations, and saying that we win this first game, and I think we can win the Six Nations, and given that we've got home games. So I haven't contemplated anything other than trying to win the Six Nations. I haven't thought about any finishing positions or anything like that. So we finished second last year, which was okay, and it'd be great for us to win the Six Nations, building into World Cup warm-up games and obviously the World Cup. Can I just ask you as well, World Rugby are proposing to bring in relegation and promotion into the Six Nations. Can I get your thoughts on that?
I didn't know about World Rugby. World Rugby are deciding.
No,
World Rugby are proposing that.
Yeah, so it would be.
You got that fact sheet from World Rugby that they're proposing. Was that rumour? No, there's just Warren hasn't briefed on that, so we'll answer that. Leave that rumour.
About Six Nations, I don't mind asking about Six Nations, probably. I've said it before.
2 tiers of 6.
I've said it before. Same answer. This is a repeat of the same answer I said before. That I think could be healthy for the competition, and the team that's potentially finishes bottom would play the top team in the second tier at their home base. The team that comes up has to be better than the team going down when you've only got 6 teams in a competition. You just can't every year have one team going up and one going down. So I think that devalues the Six Nations and the history of the Six Nations. So I have no problem with. For example, Georgia has been pretty successful in that competition. If they were consistently winning the second tier of the Six Nations, and say in recent years Italy have finished bottom and Georgia were good enough to go to Rome and beat Italy in Rome, then they probably deserve to go up. And that's the way that I look at it. It's not, and that's the same answer I've given on a number of occasions when I've been asked this question.
That's the final one for the live bit, everything else is embargoed.
That could be one of the biggest 8 ever fielded in a test. What challenges does that bring? And does that also mean that you can try and run them off their feet if they're lots of 20 stone?
It's the way that we've tended to try and play against France, keeping the ball in the park, not being afraid to kick long, trying to find a little bit of grass, and the way that for our kicking game, I think that they'll kick a lot of the ball out, trying to slow the game down. A lot of play off 9, off power with him running and feeding forwards. There's no doubt they'll have a go at our scrum and try and maul us to death as well at line-out time. They were pretty effective in the autumn in that area. So we've got to be on our mettle, and we've got to, from a defensive point of view, from line speed and winning collisions, it's paramount, and we've been working on that and talking about that this week about stopping that forward momentum that potentially they can create from that forward pack.
And looking at your starting 15, you've got almost 600 caps of experience, lots of experienced guys, and with a few younger guys. France has got a few new faces, as we've mentioned. How does that help you going in with such a settled team?
Yeah, I think it's building on that momentum that we've been creating as a group and creating that depth and competition in the side. And I think France in that sort of transition phase, they're starting to look like they're introducing a few of those younger players that came from their 20 side which won the World Cup, and they'll no doubt come into the fold in the next few years. That they've had a pretty good group of players that have come through the under 18s and under 20s, and for us it's having a reasonably settled side, but also a side that is playing with some confidence and self-belief and wanting to do, build on what we did last year and build and have a good Six Nations and look forward to those warm-up games and then ultimately Japan.
Warren, what's the situation with Nicky Smith, please?
He's fit, yeah. He didn't train. I think he's been doing quite a bit of running. The medic said, look, if we needed him for later in the week, he would be fit to play. So he's back, took a full part in training the last few days.
Does the Reece Webb situation change at all in terms of available?
I don't know what's happened with Reece Webb.
Well, it's just his family coming back and everything.
I don't know. I haven't heard about that. So I don't follow social media and stuff. And it's not on social media, so I don't know. I haven't heard just about So
it's still the same situation. There's nothing different with Reece. World Cup here now.
He's played in France and hasn't played 60 games, has he? So if he does move back, and then that. But I haven't heard anything about that. Is he moving back?
His family on
holiday.
Oh. I don't know. So
It was too long an answer if they wanted to release him on compassionate grounds, which might suit you, I guess.
Right. Yeah, look, I don't know. I haven't been following.
Warren, how big chance is it for Gatland to come this championship? Sort of nailed down number 10 a bit. Is that a sign? Perhaps?
Look, I think when we looked at that position and we discussed it, look, he's done pretty well for us. He was really good in the autumn, and Dan Biggar was good for us coming off the bench, and obviously his goal kicking. There's strengths and weaknesses. Dan's excellent in the air and his kicking game's outstanding. Defensively, he's very strong as well. But Gareth had a very good autumn, and so and for us, as much as anything, it wasn't about a rugby decision. It was about a confidence decision, and Dan at the moment, we left Gareth out and put Dan in. Potentially Gareth will be thinking, what have I done wrong? Does that knock his confidence a little bit for us going forward?
by leaving Dan out at the moment, it's not going to knock his confidence, because he's just going to wait for that opportunity when he does get a start. So that was more of a non-rugby decision than an actual rugby decision. And we, Jared's been training well for us, and then hopefully Reece Patchell becomes available in a few weeks as well. But they give us they complement each other pretty well, those two, in terms of the strengths of one and the strengths of the other. So, and like I said, both were good in the autumn, and I thought our bench was very significant in the autumn as well, and the impact that bench had with the players coming off, and when Elliot D or Dylan Lewis or Corey Hill was great from a accuracy from a line-out calling perspective, and then Dan as well. So.
Is it fair to say they complement each other a bit, like when you were Island coach, O'Gara was coming on the scene, O'Gara and David Humphrey?
Yeah, probably, yeah, quite, different strengths and stuff, and it's sometimes nice to have that. You've got two players playing the same position that a little bit different, and that sometimes you had that in the past. When we had Mike Phillips playing, he was a different nine because he was big and physical compared to the other nines. So but there's definitely a different skill set with the two tens, and they both have different strengths.
Warren, you've got two experienced centres. When you look at Intermac's game, what sort of weaknesses do you think you can exploit there through Hadley and John?
Just age.
Simple as that, inexperience?
Yeah, I think it's tough when you first your big game like that, and it's not trying to exploit him. It's the experience. There's no doubt he's had some big games for Toulouse and is learning and doing well. But any of those players, and you're probably better off talking to the players about this, but they'll say when you go out in their first international that things are happening quicker than they've ever happened before, and so your decision making has to improve, and the pace of the game, it's at a new level, and that can, for younger players, it can take a few games to get those under your belt. So that may happen, or he might just slot straight in and be a superstar. You don't know. So that's his biggest challenges is inexperience, and we need to look at putting him under pressure by challenging him on decision making in defence, and giving him no time on the ball, and making it a tough day for him. I go back to Jonathan Davies' first game in the stadium against Australia, and we often joke about that because he was like a rabbit in the headlights. Everything was happening so fast for him. He was struggling to keep up with the game, but it took him 4 or 5 games, and he's a world-class centre now from that first day to where he is now.
Well, just a word on the character of Ross Moriarty's ability to play a game, like he did in the summer, almost 2 months without one.
Look, he's a real competitor. He surprised me in the summer. I did not think he could put 3 games back to back. So I thought we'd have to rest him in one of them, and he got better as the summer went on. So look, he's had a few weeks out, but he's training well and looking sharp. He's he's uncompromising in terms of his approach, and he has that winning attitude. He loves being on the rugby field. He loves being physical, and loves playing for Wales and wants to win. So he's got a bit of an edge about him as well. We've got to make sure that red mist doesn't come down too quickly, because it can come down pretty fast. And so he's learning to control himself a little bit, and that's a work on from. He understands that, but look, he's a quality player to have in the side, and fantastic rugby player.
What would you say about Ken Owens? He becomes Wilson record.
Yeah, it's brilliant.
Assessment of Ken's career.
He's the Sheriff of Carmarthen. So he's just a great bloke to have in the side, and you couldn't get a nicer person than Ken Owens, and just a great team man, and pretty well respected by the other players and by the coaches and the staff, and well liked. And again, he's the guy who goes out there and puts his body on the line, and he's he's playing some great rugby at the moment. His carrying's outstanding. His set piece, he's throwing well, and be great for him to have a good year, and he deserves to earn that accolade in terms of being Wales' most capped hooker. He's an outstanding person both on and off the field. An important person with the squad, and a great leader, and I can't speak more highly of him, really.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you.